Okay, welcome into talkSPORT Spot on Radio Row here at the Super Bowl. NFL Network's NFL insider Ian Rapoport. This must be a busy, I mean, is every day busy for you, a busy time of the year?
Every day is busy, yeah. The Super Bowl's an interesting one because there is a lot of stuff and there's a lot of logistics and there's a lot of going places and a lot to talk about. But it's not like the height of news because by the time you get to this point, it's like coaching stuff is basically settled. And now there's, one opening, but obviously it's going to be the Saints and Kellen Moore. I think everyone probably knows that. So it's more just kind of like talking about the game and doing a bunch of stuff like this.
Because you'd assume, wouldn't you, there's so many people here. This is almost like a prime for talking to people.
It is like that, but some of the problem is a lot of what I report on kind of happens in the shadows a little bit. Yeah. Like, I had the Myles Garrett report on him requesting a trade earlier in the week, but now Myles is here talking to people, right? So it's sort of like you get a lot of content, but there's not a lot of news, if that makes sense.
What time of the year do you manage to get some time off, Ian?
I do it in little pockets. So we leave here and we get 2 weeks between this and the Combine. So I'll go skiing with my family for one of those weeks. Like, I've sort of learned through the years to, make best use of my small windows of opportunity to just relax. Like, you can never totally unplug. Like, I've broken stories from chairlifts before. Like, it's,
it sounds like a metaphor, but I bet it's not, is it?
No, it's not. It's literally sitting there, and I get a thing that my phone latches onto, so if I drop it, it doesn't fall all the way down, and I got to ski all the way down and get it. So I could text from the chairlift and, break news that way. Last year when the Raiders were hiring Tom Telesco as their GM, I put out that news literally like as I was about to board a chairlift. So it's, you sort of figure out how to manage. It's never normal, but I don't know, anyone's life is completely normal anyway,
Yeah, I mean, the way I always think that your life must be led is just in constant, not fear's the wrong word, but recognizing that you might wake up at any time of the night because you need to talk to somebody.
I mean, that happened last week. Like, it was, I was pretty confident that Liam Cohen was going to get hired by the Jaguars, going to call it 1:10 a.m., like, deal's done. And I actually woke up from my wife whacking me in the back of the neck, like, your phone's ringing, you probably should get it.
Is there a time that you say that you never fully unplug. Is there a time that we'll put skiing aside. Are there any opportunities that you really feel like, even during the season, that you're able to be like, okay, this is my time now?
I don't really have my time, maybe when I retire. But I would say, like, during the season, no. Like Friday nights, generally, you can go out and have fun and relax a little bit. But May and June is usually a time where I'll go play a lot of golf, play like 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay.
Still do some work, but just get on the course and go try to be like a regular person for a while. And, I love my job. I really do. Like, I love my job. But it's a lot. And so you sort of need those times to kind of just like try to be a regular human and, answer the phone on the 4th ring instead of maybe the 1st ring.
Yeah. The bigger that you get as an NFL insider, the more people are aware of you, the more chances are that more people will probably be talking to you about X, Y, and Z within the NFL.
Right.
How hard is it to be able to know which, not sources that you can trust, but which angles you pursue?
Well, I would say, first of all, you really do learn by trial and error. And I think the most important thing you could ask a source is, how do you know? People come to me with information all the time. How do you know? Were you there for this conversation? Did someone tell you? Did the person involved tell you? Like, how close are you to the situation? Which is sort of a way to tell, like, what am I actually getting? And then it's also like, what's the motivation to tell me? Sometimes it's like, I got great news and I want you to report it. Cool. Sometimes it's like, I'm going to give you the news this way, and I'm going to hope that you report it this way, even though it's not quite right. And that happens sometimes.
That's tough, though, surely, because not only do you have to think about that, but you're also like thinking, you also have to be aware, surely, of manipulation, potential manipulation all the time. How do you even? That must be tough to even have like human relationships, though, to an extent, because you've got to be thinking sometimes, does this person want X, Y, and Z from me?
Well, but I'm pretty transparent, and so like when I call someone, it's not like, you know, I'll call someone for work-related reasons.
Yeah.
I'll call them and I'll be like, I have nothing breaking, but just call to chat. Like, I say it right off the front, like, whatever. Or I'll be like, hey, you know this guy's injured. I know this guy's injured. Like, here's why I'm calling. You know, I try to be, like, really transparent about it. But the reality is everybody has an angle. They do. Like, an agent has an angle. A team has another angle. If it's the league, they have another angle. It's really important to understand where and why where everything's coming from and why, so you could sort of properly figure it out, you know, because like just because someone tells you something in their way, like you don't have to report it like that. You can report it the more down the middle way, but you have to acknowledge like, all right, here's why I'm learning this situation. So, you know, I've been doing this for 13 years, and it took me probably half of that to learn like how to figure out and properly sort the information that
it's
I'm
a
getting.
people business at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a people business.
And I like that part.
Yeah. There's a couple stories that I do want to touch upon. You mentioned Myles Garrett a little bit earlier. Obviously, he put out that statement saying that he's put a request in with the Cleveland Browns. You know, just because you put a request in with a team doesn't mean that you're getting traded.
Correct.
Do you anticipate this is a feasible thing that could happen?
I think the answer to that, unfortunately, is I don't know. I mean, the Browns have said they do not plan to trade him. Teams have said that in the past. They're going to get real offers from Myles Garrett. I mean, they're going to get real offers. It's going to be like, you know, huge draft pick compensation. And teams are calling. I know teams are calling. It's do they decide, and it's not just like do they want Myles Garrett. It's really like do they decide to rebuild? Because if you're trading your best player, if you're trading one of the best players in football, you're going to get a huge bounty of picks. It's going to be amazing. It can set you up for years to come, but it makes your team this year worse.
Something potentially they need as well.
Well, you know, some people think yes. Some people think, hey, if they just get a quarterback, they're ready to roll. But that's where, like, the job of Andrew Berry, the GM, and Paul DePodesta, who kind of runs football, like, all those guys are so important because self-evaluation, it's like life. It's like self-evaluation is the most important thing. How honest can you be with yourself about what your roster looks like? Like, are you really a contending team if you get a quarterback? Maybe, maybe not. But that's what they have to decide.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about Cooper Kupp as well. I don't know if you have had you have maybe had discussions with sources about how all that went down. Really, I mean, Cooper Kupp within that team has been such a stalwart over the last however many years. He's obviously Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP as well. You know, I'd be interested to know how both sides are feeling about how it went down.
Well, I think last year, it was sort of like a soft launch, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was like, is Cooper Kupp available? Maybe. Teams are calling. Rams could deal him. Okay, well, they ended up winning 2 games right before the trade deadline and then ended up making the playoffs. Like, didn't deal him, it's fine. Pull all the way back. But it really did kind of put the idea in everyone's head, like, this could happen. Like, and, it's an interesting one, too, because he's doing a lot of money, $20 million. The Rams could pay 7.5 of it, and I would, not be surprised if they ended up doing that to kind of help facilitate the trade. But he's 31 years old and hasn't had a 1,000-yard season in 4 years. Like, he is a huge name, and I think everyone's excited. And if he gets traded, it'll be a big story. But, like, the actual impact, I'm not so sure how huge it'll be, really.
We'll stay on the LA Rams here as well. I mean, literally over the last couple minutes, it's been announced that there's going to be an NFL game over in Australia. The LA Rams will be the home team as well. Obviously, talkSPORT being British, you could tell by my accent, this is something of interest to us. Granted, it's on the other side of the world to us. The international expansion in the NFL is something that Roger Goodell has been very transparent about. Be interested to know about how teams feel about not necessarily international expansion in general, but a game in Australia. The LA Rams will be traveling a long, long time to get over there. I'd be interested to know if there's any trepidation, if you've had any conversations with things like people.
I think it's so... there is a cool factor.
Yeah.
Like first team to go to Brazil, first team to go to Australia, first team, it's like people like that. I'm not sure the players get to fully experience like what it's like. Like I don't think they're going to be like touring Australia because for so many it's a work trip. Now maybe they'll go a little longer because it's so far and there's time difference and all that. But I think teams are sort of conditioned now to be like, you know what? There's going to be a game somewhere else. And we're going to have to be okay with that. And, there was nothing good about COVID, but it really did kind of alert us to the reality of like games could be anywhere, anytime. Like, let's go. And so that's sort of the mindset. Now, as someone who likes football and wants people of all kinds to watch football, like it's really, really cool. I mean, it's gonna be an awesome fan base. They're gonna be happy. I'm sure it'll look really cool on TV. Like there's a lot to like about this sort of unveiling, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, do you see there being, you know, that? I mean, there's been discussions about an 18th game in the league, but do you see there being a situation where we are looking at over the next few years a game, an international game for every single team every year?
I could see it. Yeah, one team, you know, every team gets an international game, and then it's like, you know, you give up a home game this year or next year, no matter what. So it's not like, well, we don't want to give up a home game. It's like everyone gives up a home game. So to get to 18, you know, I could certainly see that. I would imagine they would bring in a new broadcast partner to put on the 18 game. I think that will, you know, bring the league more revenue. I mean, there's a lot to like, and for the players, it's, you know, obviously it's longer, but the game has become safer. Concussions are down. Kickoffs have really helped. So there's kind of ways to make it work in a way that maybe it didn't seem possible like 5 years ago.
Ian, thank you so much. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Enjoy skiing as well.
I look forward to both those things. Thank you, man.